Hey everybody, welcome back to another VEG Out video with CCUA. It's me, Clint. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a harvest video. We've got three things that we're going to talk about harvesting today. And the first one is basil. This is probably my favorite herb to grow. It's a super aromatic summertime herb, and you're probably most familiar with it in its use in Italian food. I use it in pizza sauce or in pesto, where it kind of plays the main ingredient. You can use it for all kinds of stuff, and you can see here it's about ready to harvest. So if you take a look at the top of some of our basil plants here, you can see it's getting ready to start flowering. Now, one thing you can do is just pick those flower buds off, but that's just going to be kind of a temporary solution, and your plant's not going to get much bigger. So for your basil to keep growing throughout the season, you have to continually harvest it back. And there's a couple different ways to do this. Now, there's the right way, where you take your basil plant and you cut it off. You cut your stems off a 1/4 inch above a node. I'll show you what a node is here. A node is anywhere that new leaves start poking out. That would be a node. That's a node. And you can definitely do that. You can harvest right above those nodes. And there's nothing at all wrong with this way of harvesting. We'll just do this one kind of like that. We want to kind of cut it back as far as we can without going too far. What this is going to do is it's going to encourage the basil to branch out more. I think that looks pretty good. So that's one way to do it. Now, there's another way to do it that I prefer, and that's just called the lazy lop-off method. So that is where you just take the whole plant and you kind of bundle it up. I usually go about, I try to leave about 5 or 6 inches of the plant, just like that. And here we've got the rest. So depending on who you're talking to, some people are going to look at me and say, "Are you kidding me? Your plant's going to take forever to recover." And I'll probably say, "Yeah, I think you're right." But also, as you can see, we've got a lot of plants here, so I'm not in a huge hurry to get these things regrowing. We got a lot of basil to work with. Now, when you're done harvesting your basil, you do not want to refrigerate it. Basil does not like to be refrigerated. The leaves are super, super tender. The best thing you can do is to put them in a glass of water at room temperature. But there's our basil harvested from just 2 plants. You can imagine how much all of these would create. So we're just going to set this down for right now over in the shade. And then we're going to move on to our next harvesting plant. All right, so next up we've got potatoes. Now, it's been a minute since I have harvested potatoes, but it's pretty simple stuff. Potatoes, the part that we eat, grow underground. That means what we're going to want to do is loosen up that soil, pull up the plants, and then brush the dirt off the actual potatoes. You can see we've got our drip irrigation pulled back here. And so we're just going to kind of go in. We want to make sure we get far enough out because we don't want to stab our potatoes. But you're just gonna sink that potato fork into the ground and then just lift it up. That's gonna loosen that soil up, then we're gonna be able to, not much going on there. Maybe we have to dig a little deeper. Or maybe it's a dud. Ah, here we go. There's some potatoes in there. So these are kind of small, but a lot of the times the smaller potatoes can be the tastiest ones. Ooh, got some sort of weird fungus over here that's shooting off spores at me. Oh, there we go. It's kind of fun. You just kind of just get to dig around. It's like a little treasure hunt. I'm going to move these potatoes out of the way. Don't want to accidentally squish them after all that hard work it took to grow them. There's a little baby there. But again, we're just going to kind of dig around a little bit, search for them. There's one. And this is always a fun activity to do with students and school groups because it really is just like a treasure hunt. Just digging in, finding all these potatoes. You want to be careful because the skins can be really tender. We don't want to accidentally brush the skins too hard, or we will end up damaging the potato. We'll move on to our last one here. Oh, there we go. That time we actually got some pulled up with it. And don't forget those babies, because those baby potatoes are super, super tasty. Oh, I see another one hiding in here. Ooh, that's a good size one. We're going to do one more lift with our potato fork just to make sure we're really getting all of it, because there's nothing worse. A lightning bug on me. There's nothing worse than missing some potatoes. A, because they're delicious and we want to make sure that we're getting them all out, and B, because there's just about no worse smell than a rotten potato in the ground. Oh yeah, that was a nice little haul of potatoes. And I think that might be all that we've got on those. And that was just a few potato plants there. Probably, oh, I don't know, 6 to 8 square feet of growing space. And we were able to get a couple pretty good handfuls of potatoes. Look at all those. That is enough for a very tasty dinner. There's our potatoes. Well, we've got one more to show you while we're over here. And that is our kale. Our kale is still kind of recovering from the last time we harvested it, so we're not going to go super heavy on it right now. But when we harvest kale, we want to make sure that we don't cut the stem, because it's going to keep growing back if we let it. What we want to do is harvest a few leaves at a time from each plant. And you always want to make sure you have 3 or 4 good-sized leaves left on your plant. That way it has more time and more space to photosynthesize. So for this plant, for example, you can definitely take a couple of these big ones off. So what you want to do when you identify the leaves that you want is you hold it at the base, you just pull it down, and then pull it back up, and just snap it off, just like that. What that does is that makes sure that your stem stays intact, and that you're going to be able to keep growing more leaves. We can go ahead and pull this one too. We could even grab, see if we got any red. Probably want to leave this one just because there's only 2 good-sized leaves and 1 smaller one. You could pull a couple off of this one. And you also want to generally try to pull the bottommost leaves, which is helpful because those are usually the biggest ones anyway. But the ones that are lower have been growing longer. You can see we've got a nice little small sized bunch of kale that we can use. Just like that. Well, those are the 3 things that we have that are ready to harvest in here right now. We've got lots of other stuff growing. We've got our tomatoes and peppers and pumpkins over here, but that's all got a little bit more time left to grow before we're ready to start pulling stuff off. But I think that we have enough stuff here to even use to make a cooking video. Maybe we'll do some roasted potatoes on a bed of kale with a little bit of pesto or something like that. Get really creative in the garden sometimes. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. We will see you all next time with another Veg Out video.